The first thing I learned was how to stay quiet, not polite quiet, survival quiet. In my family, noise meant attention, and attention always came with a cost, so I learned to disappear without leaving. By the time I was an adult, silence felt natural, comfortable, like a well-worn jacket you forget you're wearing. People called me composed, steady, unshakable. They didn't know how much effort it took to stay that way. I built my life carefully, no sharp edges, no unnecessary risks, a job that paid well but didn't ask too many questions, an apartment that looked lived in enough to avoid suspicion. I told myself this was balance. It wasn't. It was avoidance. Her name was Elise. She arrived in my life during a season when everything felt controlled, too controlled. We met through mutual friends, nothing accidental about it. A dinner party with conversations that floated safely above anything real. She sat across from me, listened more than she spoke. When she did speak, people leaned in. "You don't say much," she said at one point. Not accusing, observing. "I listen," I replied. She smiled slightly. Listening is different from hiding. That landed harder than I expected. After dinner, she stood beside me on the balcony. City lights below, wind cutting through the noise. "Do you ever get tired of being careful?" she asked. I almost answered honestly. Almost. "Careful keeps things from breaking," I said instead. She nodded. "Sometimes breaking is how you find out what matters." I didn't respond. The silence stretched. Not awkward. Loaded. Over the next weeks, she became a presence. Not constant. Intentional. She asked questions people usually avoided, about regret, about anger, about the things we don't name because naming gives them weight. I stayed composed, controlled, but something inside me resisted. One night she said, "You carry a lot that you pretend isn't heavy." I laughed. "Too fast. That's just adulthood." She shook her head. "No, that's armor." That word followed me home. Armor. I looked at my reflection that night. The calm face, the measured posture. For the first time, I wondered who I'd be without the protection. After that night, I started noticing how often I held my breath. Not physically, internally, like I was bracing for something that never fully arrived. Elise didn't rush me. That was the dangerous part. She stayed present without demanding access, asked questions, then let them sit unanswered. Most people fill silence. She respected it. We met again a week later. Coffee this time. Midday. Neutral territory. She watched me stir my cup longer than necessary. "You do that when you're avoiding something," she said. "Stirring coffee?" "Deflecting," she replied. I smiled. Careful. Controlled. "You read into things," I said. She shrugged. "People who hide usually think that." I felt a flicker of irritation. Not at her, at the accuracy. "You're very practiced," she continued, "at staying intact." That word again. Armor. I changed the subject. She let me. For a while. Later, as we walked, she said quietly, "What happened before you learned to be silent?" The question stopped me mid-step. I hadn't expected it. No one ever asked it that way. "Nothing happened," I said, too quickly. She didn't argue, just looked at me, waiting. "There was yelling," I added after a moment. "Growing up. Not a lie, just incomplete. And silence felt safer," she said, not a question. I nodded, once. That night, I dreamed of my childhood home. Doors closed, lights off, voices bleeding through walls. I woke up tense, jaw clenched, hands tight. At work, things began slipping. Small mistakes, missed cues, uncharacteristic impatience. My manager asked if I was okay. I said yes. Automatically. Elise noticed before anyone else. "You're carrying something," she said one evening, "and you're getting tired." "I'm fine," I replied. She looked at me steadily. "No," she said, "you're functioning." That distinction landed hard. I didn't want to open what I'd sealed off years ago. I'd survived by closing doors. Reopening them felt reckless. But pressure has a way of finding cracks. One night, after too much wine and not enough distraction, I snapped. Not at her. At myself. "I don't know how to put it down," I said suddenly. "All of it." She didn't ask what it was. She knew. You don't have to carry it alone, she said. That was when fear surfaced. Sharp, clear. If I stop holding it, I said, I don't know what happens. She nodded slowly. That's usually where the truth is. I realized something unsettling. My silence hadn't made me strong. It had just delayed the collapse. And now, the weight was the way movies suggest. No shaking, no dramatic confession, no tears that cleaned anything up. What happened was quieter, more dangerous. I started talking, not all at once, not chronologically, just fragments slipping out when I stopped monitoring myself. I told her about the nights I stayed awake as a kid, listening, measuring tone, predicting impact, learning early that being noticed wasn't the same as being safe. I told her how silence became strategy, how disappearing emotionally kept things stable. She didn't interrupt, didn't reframe, didn't soften it. She let it be what it was. At some point, I realized something strange. I wasn't performing strength. I was exhausted from maintaining it. I thought control was the same as maturity, I said. She answered calmly. Control is just fear that learned good posture. That sentence stayed with me. Weeks passed. Nothing external changed dramatically. Same job, same apartment, same routines. But internally, something shifted. I stopped flinching when conversations got uncomfortable, stopped filling space with competence, stopped pretending I was untouched. One evening, Elise said something unexpected. You don't need me the way you think, she said, and that's a good thing. I understood what she meant. This wasn't about replacing silence with dependency. It was about choosing presence. Not long after, she told me she might be leaving. Another city, another opportunity. No promises, no ultimatums. I didn't panic. That surprised both of us. I don't want to trap you, I said. And I don't want to be trapped. She smiled softly. That's the first honest relationship sentence you've ever said. When she left, it didn't feel like abandonment. It felt like alignment. I stood alone in my apartment that night. No distractions, no noise, just myself. For the first time, the silence didn't feel protective. It felt empty and honest. I understood then. I wasn't broken. I was unfinished. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't trying to armor myself against what came next. I was willing to feel it.